Yeah, I even see that number of people growing, so it's interesting. So probably someone who advise us to have this ask me anything session, like my good call. So I don't know, like we're probably waiting for some comments. I see that the last comments coming from. Yeah, we have some comment. Last comment come from Andrew Cooper. Right now, there is no way that should be accessible outside of the admin VM. I believe this is in context of, about boot EFI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
probably
obviously.
this is correct statement. Yeah. Question for Qubes OS service VMs. Any advancement for unikernels, microkernels to limit memory footprints of service VM implied? Yeah, that's great question. Yeah, I had discussion recently about that. Like, please, Marek, tell us.
Yes. So currently, all the system VMs are running Linux, and all those Linux VMs are pretty much the same, which means, for example, you have X server everywhere, you have a bunch of desktop services everywhere, which means like sysnet, sysUSB, sysfirewall takes a few hundred megabytes of RAM. There are options to improve that. And there are actually two types of VMs we should consider here. One type is VMs handling devices like sysnet, sysUSB. We need device drivers there, which in practice means we need Linux or some other popular operating systems, but currently we support Linux. Just to have drivers. It is possible to some slightly reduce memory footprints of sysnet and sysUSB. For example, in sysUSB you don't really need X server. In sysnet you need one to show network manager applet and network manager UI. But that's just one part of the story. There is also sysfirewall. There is also possible some other VM to downloading updates, and those have very limited set of features. And for example, for sysfirewall, it is possible to use Mirage OS, and actually implementation of dynamic changes in firewall was merged in Mirage OS firewall for Qubes like a few days ago. And this is great for memory footprints because Mirage-based firewall takes like 30 or 40 megabytes of RAM. Compared to a few hundreds, it's a huge improvement. So that's one possibility, and there are also some interesting developments for other services, like VPN service, like some key storage service that was for SSH, I think, SSH agent. So it is possible to get them with much smaller memory footprint. In the context of this firmware updates, I think it is possible to also have some VM with limited memory, but I think we still need fwupd for that, and that implies Linux, I think, at least in the current state. I don't see this project being re-implemented in OCaml or something like that, because Mirage OS is written in OCaml. But yes, there are some ideas how to limit memory footprint for those systems VMs. So basically, don't run X server when it's not needed and use MirageOS firewall. This is still in development. Like in the default setup in the Qubes 4.1, we will stick to Linux-based VMs with standard templates. But this is something that will make easier and easier to enable over time. And at some point, we'll make it default.
Yeah, so like unikernels is very, very interesting topic in my opinion. And like if there is any way to support that, we would be glad to look at it. I wonder if there is any easy way to start using those. You know, like many of us use Qubes OS daily on workstation, and okay, like I already have 32 gigs of RAM on my workstation, and you know, like it's not enough. So how I can, if I would like to use those service VMs, how I can easily do that? Or I have to hack?
Let me. Currently, the installation procedure is not just one step. You need to download. I think you need to build it yourself currently. Let me find the link. Where is it? I think here. It's github.com/mirage/qubes mirage firewall. And there is there is instruction how to build and how to install it. So after you build the binary, you just get a kernel binary, a unikernel. You need to copy it to DOM0 and create a VM with very specific set of options. There are like 10 of them or something like that. So currently the steps are documented, but they are not very user-friendly. What we do plan is to package it in some package. I'm not yet sure if that will be RPM or some salt formula or some other method to make it just one step, install this and that package. So that is on the roadmap, I hope, for this year. Not for Qubes 4.1 release, but somehow in the meantime in this year. But currently, like right now, you can build it yourself and deploy with just following README in that project.
Yeah, that's great.
It's not very complex, but yeah, there's few steps.
Yeah, that's great. I believe like we should move on slowly to the next question. Like I believe unikernels is very interesting. We have like a question from Andrew Cooper. I don't want to like I would like to also put a Trammel question, but maybe Andrew is more related to the topic that we have right now, so I will pick that one. So Andrew asking if anyone investigated Unicraft.
Yes, we've tried. So the focus with unikernels and Qubes was mainly on MirageOS, and for that, MirageOS currently use MiniOS as a base. There was an attempt to change that to use Unicraft. It was kind of hacky because MirageOS have own build system, Unicraft have own build system, and each of those wants to be the primary one. But also the main reason to touch this part at all was to get PVH support, because currently MirageOS works only as PV domain, not PVH. And it turned out it's much simpler to simply update MiniOS version to the one supporting PVH than to add PVH support to Unicraft, which doesn't exist yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so Andrew just smiling.
Okay,
The state of
so
unikernel
I
build
see
system is
there was
rather terrible. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I see some question from Trammel. I don't know if we missed it. Is a read-only plus DM Verity root file system plus lockdown for DOM0 on the roadmap?
Generally, yes. But first, I consider GUI domain a necessary step because currently, if when the GUI desktop environment and stuff is running in DOM0, there is kind of quite a few pieces that users need a way to modify easily, and adding read-only file system, well, doesn't necessarily prevent it, but makes it more complex. But if we move the whole GUI to another domain, we can very easily define what part of the DOM0 file system are state and configuration, and what are the system itself that can be fully read-only. And actually, GUI domain is not that far away, because in Qubes 4.1 there is experimental support for GUI domain using kind of fake GUI domain, because it's still running X server in DOM0, as all the drivers are still in DOM0, but desktop environment, window manager, and stuff like that is already running in a separate domain. So the most important part, the configuration, is stored in that separate domain, and we have it separated from DOM0. The next step would be to make it more polished and more stable, the way we could turn it on by default. So I think the read-only DOM0 would be a goal for next year or something like that.
Yeah, that's very cool. So Andrew mentioned that lockdown for DOM0 implies some kind of lockdown for Zen, and he welcomes patches for that.
Yes, but I think that's also helpful, but also kind of orthogonal to DOM0 lockdown, because if we don't let the user into DOM0 at all, we care much less about isolation of Zen from DOM0. But that's also a nice addition.
Okay, so maybe this is like when we're talking about all this DOM0 related stuff, and maybe we should talk about, open embedded build DOM0.
Yes, so that's one topic for stripped down read-only DOM0, because currently DOM0 is normal Linux distribution, which takes few gigabytes and stuff. So for that reason, we definitely need to distribute it as separate packages. For example, to update separate packages, not download the whole image each time, which implies also using kind of standard Linux distribution. But if we get DOM0 much smaller, like it would be just management tools like libvirt, libxl, some Qubes specific tools like Qubes daemon, and that would be all. Then DOM0 size would be much, much smaller, and we could also build DOM0 not as individual packages, but as the whole image. And at this point, using open embedded would make sense, because this is the goal of open embedded, to build the whole distribution very tailored to the specific specific goals. and it using Open Embedded would allow to make it much smaller than using standard packages from Fedora, Debian, or another Linux distribution. So yes, this is limiting DOM0 is the point where we think about Open Embedded.
Yeah, so we started this discussion last year on previous mini summit, and I'm very happy that that we're moving into direction when it would be possible, and definitely so 3MDEP as Open Embedded and the Octo experts will help in that because it's just our domain. I believe like it would be quite easy for us to enter that land and contribute to Qubes OS.
Okay, this is actually a very good topic to talk in few weeks after Frederick's presentation about build system, because he will also talk about the current build system and some ideas and plans for the future. So I believe it's on the last day of this mini summit.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, something from Thierry. Having LVMM static image instead of RPM deployed template VMs could be a better way to distribute and permit emergency recovery of Qubes OS from SSH in case of Linux boot heads and others. So static image for template
Yes, I
VMs.
see. Well, actually, we do distribute our templates as a disk image, but it's wrapped into RPM package to make it convenient to download and distribute. Yes, because we have already tools to distribute RPM packages, so we can simply use those tools. But it's just about package format, not the content. Content is just the image file. And one of the changes actually already made in Qubes 4.1 is that template packages are not installed during the DOM0 installation, but they are copied as still as RPM files into DOM0 file system in some directory, and they are installed like copied into LVM only during initial setup after user select which templates they want.
Yes, so
this means.
Yeah, Marek. So I maybe missed small thing from this quote.
Yes,
kind of
backups.
Yeah, when you see that, yeah. Okay, I will not.
Yes, I see. Yeah.
Interrupt. Okay.
Well, I think backups is nice for incremental backups. You can simply backup your incremental, make a backup daily or something like that, with just storing changes you've made. But for the distributing changes between templates and something like that, or applying changes over, applying your backup over the base image, I think that would not work well, because even if you have static image, some base image of the template, you also applied updates there, and also if you do some recovery from fresh installation, you probably will fetch latest version instead of some, I don't know, prior sort image you started initially. So having differences based on the original template image you had 3 years ago, it's not helpful to restore the backup over the fresh installation. So yeah, that's why I think it's not not that helpful. But also Thierry asked me a lot of times before for some method to measure templates and DOM0. So right now, when you install Qubes, you have, like in 4.0, you have all the data and you run the initial setup, you have all the VMs, templates and stuff uploaded into LVM. And if you start the template, which is part of the installation, there are some non-deterministic changes made. Like, for example, template start time is recorded into some log files inside the template. This means every installation is at some point unique. So it's not that easy to verify if the installed system corresponds to the system to some specific installation image version. But I think it would be possible to, with limited DOM0, read-only DOM0 and DM verify applied there, it would be possible to also store the hash of the initial template version that was installed somewhere in some safe way. So even after some updates, some changes, you can still tell what was the original hash of the template you have installed. And assuming DOM0 was not compromised in the meantime, I think you can trust that information. So that would also help with measuring DOM0 and templates. So that was the answer for the question I got from Thierry privately a lot.
Yeah, so that sounds like a template VM measured installation or something like that for,
Yes,
business feature name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so does it, like, how it corresponds to? We will talk about that in future, like in a week, about SRTM for VMs. But if I understand that correctly, this is very close to have that feature in Qubes. So in terms like to support what Thierry asking for, we really need SRTM for VMs.
I think it's related. I wouldn't say it's a requirement, but this is a related feature. If you can include the base initial base template version or hash or something in the measurement, that would be helpful. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other topics?
Also, I think for any kind of measurements of templates or VMs, I think you need much smaller DOM0 that is static. So you can reason about the system based on the root hash of the DOM0, like DM verity root hash or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably one option, and other option is kind of like leveraging something from the RTM, and then you just remove everything else from the equation. Like maybe not totally, but at least partially. You can mitigate that just just running the RTM for any sensitive operation, like using template VM to create another VM. And you just leverage this pipeline without caring about the state of DOM0. Does it make sense? Or of course, if the template is stored in DOM0, then of course like it have to be trusted.
Yeah, I think it sounds good in theory, but in practice there are a lot too many way too many moving parts in this picture to make it realistic. Like if you want to, any operation on the VMs, like clone, create, and stuff, and there are a lot of parts on the DOM0 involved.
Okay, so this gets back.
Yeah, it's basically
yeah, so this gets
measuring the whole DOM0.
Okay. Okay. So, but this gets back to also. So, what's your idea about IMA in DOM0? Because this is sounds like partially related, and of course that means that it gets back to the Zen-Devil discussion about. Maybe this is like that was more about secure boot, so this is not exactly the same. But definitely that means that the DOM0 is started with SRTM.
Yes, that secure boot discussion definitely is related here, because it also allows you to define some some properties you expect from Zen, like measuring hypervisor loaded, DOM0 loaded, and things like that. I think currently OpenXT have some quite complex workflow for establishing Zen and DOM0 measurements, which involved starting Zen twice, if I remember correctly. So that discussion would allow to simplify it, this part a lot. Yes, but regarding IMA, personally, I think this is not the right approach, because you have a lot too many parts that are not that you need to trust before you verify. Like there is very little file system metadata verification and stuff that actually can affect your security of the system. Because IMA is about individual files integrity, not the whole file system integrity. So that means a lot of things are not considered, not measured in the process.
Okay.
And it depends on some kernel parts to be bug free, which is not very realistic.
Okay. We have some comments from Thierry that having all logs and random changes going outside of local app VM and template VMs like syslog, for example, or have template VMs upgrades from LVM level with wine backups for base VMs that needs to become consistent with upstream. Like, I'm not sure I'm getting that correctly. Marek, do you get what's the point of this comment?
Yeah, so regarding logs, that's actually one thing we also need to handle with GUI domain, because if you don't have direct access to DOM0 anymore, troubleshooting became much harder. So one of the things we'll need to do is to upload logs from DOM0, and maybe at the same time also from templates. Why not, if we have this mechanism, to some another domain. So because when introducing GUI domain and cutting the user out of direct DOM0 access, we need to provide interfaces for all the actions user normally do in DOM0, which also includes logs. And as for the templates and LVM-based updates, I'm not very yes, that is some idea, It is actually quite similar to what was the name, RPM OS 3 implementation, I think. And also Fedora Silverblue is doing that. The idea is to apply updates not on the individual package level, but on the whole file system level. Kind of similar like base images for Docker works, which allows you to have the very same bit by bit the same base image on all the installations, which also is nice feature for measurements and things like that. So we can think of something like this, but
the stream is offline now, at least for me. Do you have the same problem?
Yeah, I have the same issue.
Okay, so wait.
So let's not produce any more words because the word will not hear us.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on here? Like, the stream ended.
I reset the stream now, so it should come back live in a few seconds.
Yeah, I believe we just need like probably we should consider like 15 minutes more and like or 10 minutes, and we will start to close down the discussion.
Yes, actually, I have 10 minutes at most.
Okay, so let's try to like start to close the discussion. Okay. I believe like there are two more comments on.
The discussion was about this templates distribution and updates on base image layer instead of packages layer using Ving backups. I'm not sure about pronunciation. So that is similar to existing project like Fedora Silverblue is doing, and also Docker distributing base images. But so it's nice addition, but I think currently we have a lot of tasks already in the pipeline. So I would not plan to take a look to start working on it anytime soon. And also there is a comment from there's a comment in Houston about potential feature to log exporting to for log exporting to have TPM periodically assign a hash of the log entries so that log tampering can be detected. Yes, I think having a separate log VM which store all the logs makes easier to do to add such features, because then we have all the logs in one place, so it's easy to also add some tamper detections or mechanism or something like that. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, so there were some questions before this technical issue. Anyone catch that? There were two comments that I would like to try to address, but I don't know how to get to that. Anyone have that still, or we just?
So one is that I just answered, and the other was, I think, comment to the previous from Thierry to the previous topics.
Okay. Okay, I think like
there was anything else.
Okay, I think we will go to the end. Thank you very much for listening this, for watching, and we obviously invite you to the next week session where we will talk about SRTM for VMs and anti-evil Maid. So yeah, I believe those will be also very interesting topics. And stay tuned and connect to us next time. And thank you very much for watching, Marek, Frederick. Thank you for participating. And yeah, let's do this again as planned. Take care. Bye-bye.